No one would have believed that I would be playing the classic War of the Worlds Xbox 360 arcade version on my PC, a Paramount game, in association with Pro Cloud Media Invest, Other Ocean, Teeny Rebel Studios, The War of the Worlds, one of the Xbox 360 cult classic fan favorites. Press A to begin. I would press X to doubt that, but that's not going to get us anywhere. Let us begin. It actually works. Holy hell.
How long did it take for the Earth to end? 3 short days. Looking from this window, it seems impossible to imagine that an invasion took place out there. How arrogant we were to assume that we were alone in the universe, and how complacent we had become, going about our little lives, while all the time our world was being watched by an intelligence greater and far less sympathetic than our own.
This is such a nostalgia trip. I cannot believe I'm playing this right now on my PC.
To the inhabitants of Mars, we must have looked like germs under a microscope. But we were so blinded by our vanity that we could not imagine the possibility of invasion. It started on May the 23rd, 1953. The date has become as important to us all as 1066 or 1939. After 3 short days, on the afternoon of May the 26th, we realized the terrible truth. For it was on that afternoon that we became finally aware of the uncertainty of humankind's survival. I had been visiting my friend Ogilvy at his Clifton Observatory in Bristol. I had seen with my own eyes the pinpoints of light that burst out of Mars, the red planet, heading for Earth, as if shot by great guns. They came to us like falling stars, these cylinders, and when they landed, each one opened.
Oop, plot point, here they come.
BBC radio broadcasts told us that the nation was in a state of panic, but information was scarce, and rumors could not be believed. Who then were we to trust? Who could we turn to for help? How could we fight an enemy we could not even imagine? Only one fact was undisputed. We were under attack. Not from another nation as in times gone past, but from some far greater, more malevolent power. Their center was in London, where I was heading.
The War of the Worlds. Now that was an intense introduction, I shall say so myself. This game was the cult classic fan favorite from my childhood on the Xbox 360.
When I came to, I found a scene of utter devastation. Alive and sound in body, thank heaven, but how long had I been unconscious? My watch. The hands had been frozen at the moment of impact. I no longer had any sense of time.
What's crazy about this ROM is I actually found it on a website that someone was hosting the ROM file that was uploaded on November the 7th on 2011, 7/11, get the gist? And as to I myself personally have had fond memories of playing this when I was growing up during the Xbox 360 era, and this was exclusively an arcade game. You couldn't really walk into the GameStop or any of your local game stores to purchase a physical copy of it. No, you had to like either get points or whatever the case would have been, or get certain cards that would give you certain credits to access the arcade games, if I recall right, because the arcade stuff has been obsolete ever since Xbox 360 has faded off into irrelevancy and a lot of the more modern consoles came out. But when I was going through all of that stuff and, getting most of the arcade games around during that time, this one was one of the games in particular that was a massive hit in the arcade series. And over time, unfortunately, the full game got removed and revoked, and you could no longer access the full version. Only the trial exists as of currently, which I'm not entirely for certain what exactly happened to the full game. If anyone can clarify to me what has happened to the full game, that would be great. But all I know, ever since during the Xbox 360 era, during its final stages, a lot of the arcade games have become obsolete and have just, well, been abandoned pretty much, especially with this one. So with enough introduction, let's dig in. We're now gonna walk up to face our fate. Paddington Station, May 26th, 1953, and there seems to be some serious light shows going on in the background. What is it, celebration time already? Celebration time, come
I
on.
knew the city's population would be trying to escape to the countryside, but my brother Ben and my fiancée Emily were here in London, trapped at the heart of the conflict, and I had to find my loved ones.
So if I recall correctly, I think we used this box to create a path by smothering out the fire, right?
The train looked as if it was a child's toy that had been thrown to the ground. The carriages were twisted and crushed on each other, passengers screaming behind the melted windows, but there was no one to release them. During the Blitz, a bomb had fallen directly on the Waterloo line. This looked like a dozen had fallen.
Yep, this is definitely a platformer I can get behind from the Xbox 360 era, due to, aside from the graphics being exquisitely done, but the narration is just amazingly made.
Oh, and of course they'll remove a classic gem like this and give us a craptastic heap of fire like Gray Skies.
Yep, I'm not gonna die by a heaping overdose of shock therapy, not today, my peeps.
People were calling for help, desperate for a doctor, a leader, someone who could save them. Guiltily, I passed by. How could I stop for one without stopping for all?
Alright, time to do a little wall jumping. Alright, same schnick. Gotta grab that box up there. And smother out the fire. Whoa! Who would have guessed they added the iconic tripod
Our
horn?
invaders seemed as tall as Bankside Power Station, fueling an engine more destructive than
Oh, okay,
anything
never
I could
mind. It
imagine.
created a second path for us to go down. Yep, hang on. Let me just slow my descent a little bit here. Because there is one crucial element that I do remember in the game, that if you do fall from such extreme heights, you will die easily. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're playing this. Hey, where you going, mystery man? I got something to chit-chat with you. Hey. Hey. Answer me. What's up? Hey. Can I get some answers, please? How do I interact with the guy? I know for certain you gotta interact with him. How do you do that? Sup, my
The
man?
man who was helping pull survivors clear of the wreckage told me his name was Sergeant Jack Carstairs. It seemed he witnessed the attacks from the very start. A career soldier, decent, tough, and I imagined more than a little bull-headed. His senior officers were encamped on Primrose Hill to the north of the city, a military vantage point from which they could oversee operations. But his platoon, indeed all the new recruits, were being directed toward the open fields of Hyde Park, where the fighting was at its thickest. This was where I needed to go, if I was to find my younger brother.
Oh, so we're literally getting into the definition of the thick of it, ain't we? Alright, my peeps, let's enter into the electrical corridor of doom. Nothing to it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Easy as your ABCs and 1, 2,
In a
3s.
few hours, my world had been turned on its head. Already I had witnessed things that would stay with me forever.
Alrighty, time to make my move. And that sucked ass. Hey, don't mind the dead body next to you, dude. Alright, let me get my cardio flowing. Alright, there we go. That's what we need right there. Oh, check out these speedrun strats. Ain't no match for me. Oh shit, I just about jumped off. Alright, there we go. Whoa-ho-ho! Alley-oop! Whoop! There we go. I think this might be the end of the first chapter. Hang on, more loose cables. Oh shit. Okay, then where the heck was I supposed to go? I tried going to the right. That didn't work. I tried going to the left. That didn't work. Okay, there we go. Alright, this is the end of chapter 1. I can feel it in my bones. Chapter 1 done.
The army was desperately calling for able-bodied volunteers. My brother Ben was just 16 and filled with the hot-headedness of youth. I knew he would try to enlist as a land soldier. Our mother was frightened that he would be killed. And Emily, my beloved fiancée, where would I find her? Surely not among the bookshops of St. Paul's where she was employed. I could not bear to think of her alone and terrified, imprisoned among the ruins of our great city. I felt sure she would try to reach our family home in Stanford Street.
Alrighty then, let the second chapter commence. We are making our way downtown, fighting Martians and reuniting with our loved ones. Diddly diddly dee. Alright, let's head up to Stanford Street. You know, I would set up a campfire and roast us some good old marshmallows, but considering that we already have a campfire, so to speak, right in the middle of this city, I actually forgot to bring my marshmallows, so shucks and sucks for y'all because we won't be able to have a nice puffy, fluffy, refreshing snack while the invasion takes place. And not to mention the fact, where the fuck are you gonna get your sticks from? Not from this tree, that's for damn sure, because it's already on fire. What that be in the ground over there? Is it some type of enemy? It must be. Uh-oh, brace for impact. Yep, if I recall correctly, those enemies don't necessarily do damage to you unless you trigger one of its little things that it fires on the ground below. If you were to step or run over those, then it would start attaching to you and homing into you like a friggin' missile. For demonstration. See what I mean? And yep, all you gotta do to avoid that is just, well, run for your fucking life, pretty much. Yep, look at those tripods coming in from over the horizon. Yep, I was definitely a daredevil when it came to that one. Oh, no. I know I was talking about marshmallows earlier, but I don't want to freaking roast like one by any means.
Ball of smoke
Oh,
rising from
shit.
the tube
Wait, go
station
down, go down, go down.
gate.
No, no,
For
no!
years after the war, many of these
Yep,
back
now
streets
we're
would
getting into
remain
the
derelict
enemies.
and
We're gonna take the scenic route. So by any off chance, do we dig around with this electrical box over here, or do we just, try to sneak by this enemy to get to the other side? Alright, that was easy enough. Alright, let's take it easy. We've made it to our cozy corner of the world.
After the nightmarish chaos of the devastated streets, the gloom of the warehouse felt oddly safe. It crossed my mind that I could remain here in the dark, hiding until the danger had passed.
Ooh. Yep, that is a dastardly ugly booger down there. And the irony, it's shaped like a spider. My god, do I hate spiders. Ooh. Hold on, I don't... Get off me, man.
A thought made me shiver. Had these Martians studied us in that much detail? Did they know us so well that they could create these spider creatures just to terrify us?
Oh my god, these eight-legged freaks are out to get me, man.
Moving about on my microscope slide,
Get off.
So the Martians saw us. We were nothing more than germs to be eradicated. To my scientific mind, it made an appalling kind of sense.
Alright, let's take this box and push it somewhere else. Alright, let's lessen our fall damage here.
Moving about on my microscope slide, so the Martians saw us. We were nothing more than germs to be eradicated. To my scientific mind, it made an appalling kind of sense.
Uh-oh, the spider's coming after me. Yep, and a can of bug spray ain't gonna do it for me. The War of the Worlds. Aw man, so that was only just a trial this whole time? I was under the impression that I downloaded the full game. Well, that kinda sucks. The invasion has just begun. Unlock the full game to continue Arthur Clarke's story. Play through a new telling of the Martian invasion by award-winning UK novelist Christopher Fowler, narrated by Patrick Stewart. Tense stealth action, fast-paced platforming and puzzle solving. 11 levels filled with dozens of layers of 2D parallaxed artwork. Man, that sucks because I genuinely suspected that this was going to be the full game that I downloaded and I'm emulating using an Xbox 360 emulator this go around. But sadly to mistaken, it's not the full game. It's unfortunately a trial. What a bummer. Although, however, despite of that fact, the 2 levels that I got to play in this episode were a blast, and hopefully maybe if I'm lucky enough to come across a full version of the game to download and emulate, or if anyone can pass that knowledge on to me of any link out there that has the full game to download, feel free to let me know about that so I can get into this game once again, because I would like to turn this into a series on my channel. So yeah, with that being said, if you enjoyed this gameplay, feel free to give it a like and feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to help your boy grow in the algorithm. Peace out and see ya.